The film opens with a palpable tension at a Colombian border checkpoint, where an unmarked transport truck arrives. Inside, a man anxiously checks his phone, signaling that he is on the brink of a pivotal meeting. The truck comes to a stop in a secluded area, and the man opens a heavy wooden crate, revealing Chris, a rugged and determined figure whose demeanor hints at a shadowy and perilous past. However, what initially appears to be a reunion with allies quickly turns treacherous as they betray him.
You've already been paid. In full.
I want everything.
With ruthless efficiency, Chris subdues both men before retrieving his bag and calmly walking away. The narrative then shifts to a modest grave where Chris stands solemnly, his face etched with sorrow as he gazes at the tombstone of his late wife. The scene transitions to a lavish estate where Elisa, a young woman returning home from school, is greeted by her father Vicente, a wealthy and controlling figure. His welcome is laced with both affection and suspicion as he playfully confiscates her phone to interrogate her about her social connections. Demonstrating a blend of dominance and protectiveness, Vicente insists that she accompany him to an upcoming party and encourages her to invite her friends. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit warehouse, the heavily scarred assassin known as El Corvo prepares for an ominous task. Later that night, he enters a cafe, sitting silently and unsettling the staff with his presence. When a waitress asks him to leave, he reacts violently, assaulting her and forcing her into a bizarre ritual where she must cut and eat a slice of cake while he scrutinizes her every reaction. The chilling moment is abruptly interrupted by the arrival of police, leading to a brief standoff. However, an officer manages to de-escalate the situation and helps the waitress escape. In a shocking turn, El Corvo ambushes them in their vehicle, ruthlessly killing both without hesitation. The following day, Elisa travels in luxury with bodyguards when a beggar approaches her vehicle under the pretense of cleaning the windshield. When one of the guards steps out to confront him, the beggar reveals himself as Chris. In a swift and brutal display of combat prowess, Chris incapacitates the guards and abducts Elisa, locking her in the trunk before making his escape. Upon learning of his daughter's kidnapping, Vicente erupts in furious rage. He brutally assaults the surviving guard and places a substantial bounty on Chris's head, setting off a relentless manhunt. As Chris drives away, Elisa thrashes in the trunk, desperate for freedom. Eventually, he opens it in an attempt to calm her, but she seizes the opportunity to escape and flees into the dense woods. Chris pursues her and catches up, revealing a photograph of himself with her mother. He claims to have shared a deep bond with her mother and explains that he made a solemn vow to protect Elisa. Though skeptical, Elisa listens to his words, yet her defiance remains unyielding. She reluctantly agrees to accompany him, but only under the condition that she holds a gun on him. Later, she discovers that the gun is unloaded. Chris had deliberately removed the bullets, and he reclaims the weapon without a struggle. Their journey takes a turn when their car runs out of fuel, prompting Chris to stop at a nearby gas station while leaving Elisa in the vehicle. Seizing her chance, she escapes and finds a group of young football players, urgently telling them she's been kidnapped. They confront Chris, who sternly warns them to back off. He retrieves Elisa and binds her hands, resolute in his determination to protect her, even against her will. As she continues to protest, Chris reveals a shocking truth: he is her biological father. Elisa is taken aback, momentarily distracted by hunger. They stop at a small eatery where Chris shares fragments of his tumultuous past, 15 years in prison and betrayal by Vicente, who he insists framed him. Before Elisa can fully process this revelation, a gang of armed men confronts them. Chris reacts with lightning speed, disarming and overpowering the attackers in another explosive sequence. Amidst the chaos, Elisa is abducted by the gang's ruthless leader. In a desperate bid for answers, Chris tortures one of the remaining henchmen and learns her location. Elisa finds herself in a dark warehouse where a trafficker working for Vicente plans to turn her in for the reward. During a tense phone call, Elisa confronts Vicente about her mother's death. Vicente feigns innocence, claiming to have loved her mother deeply. However, when Elisa mentions Chris's assertion of being her father, Vicente's demeanor shifts ominously. Unbeknownst to him, his trusted aide discreetly informs El Corvo about Elisa's whereabouts. El Corvo storms into the warehouse, ruthlessly annihilating everyone in his path.
Hide there if you want to live. Come on, stay hueputa. Vamos.
Chris arrives moments too late, discovering the facility strewn with corpses. In a fierce confrontation, he faces El Corvo in a savage hand-to-hand battle that merges gunfire with brutal close-quarters combat. The warehouse owner bravely attempts to intervene, but El Corvo swiftly ends his life without a moment's hesitation. In the ensuing chaos, Elisa seizes the opportunity to escape alongside Chris. Chris suggests they go to a store to buy her some clothes, hoping to provide her with a sense of normalcy. Once they find a moment of respite, Elisa presses Chris for the full story of their tumultuous past. With a heavy heart, Chris reveals a shocking truth. He, Vicente, and her mother once formed a notorious bank-robbing trio. When her mother became pregnant, Chris longed for a life away from crime, but one last heist led to betrayal. Vicente turned him in, sealing his fate behind bars. Elisa is shaken by this revelation but begins to understand the complex web of loyalty and deceit that has defined their lives. That night, he plans to help her cross the US border to safety. However, Elisa, overwhelmed by confusion and emotional turmoil, refuses and drives away, leaving Chris behind. In a moment of desperation, she stops at a phone booth to contact Vicente, seeking clarity and safety. But before she can find refuge, El Corvo ambushes her once again. Chris arrives just in time to confront the merciless killer, leading to an explosive shootout. In the chaos, El Corvo captures Elisa and forces Chris to surrender before brutally beating him into unconsciousness. The following morning, Vicente discovers Chris hanging from a tree and cuts him down, only for them to receive a call from El Corvo demanding Vicente come to an abandoned industrial plant to retrieve Elisa. Enraged by the betrayal, Vicente executes the traitorous aide who informed El Corvo of their plans. Together with Chris and his remaining men, Vicente arrives at the sprawling, decaying plant. The ruthless killer ambushes them and takes Vicente hostage at gunpoint. Meanwhile, Elisa is bound to a menacing industrial blade, her life hanging by a thread. Chris storms in, unaware he is walking into a deadly trap. A fierce and high-stakes battle erupts between him and El Corvo.
I'm sorry. I need her.
Vicente, desperate to save Elisa, watches helplessly as the blade inches closer to her. Amid the chaos, El Corvo reveals a devastating truth: he murdered Elisa's mother on Vicente's orders. Consumed by rage, Chris fights back with renewed determination. As time runs out, he signals Elisa to use her mother's diamond necklace to jam the machine's gears. With resolve, she complies, halting the blade just in time. Just as the killer prepares to finish off Elisa, Vicente intervenes. The two adversaries engage in one final clash. Vicente drives a blade into El Corvo's torso, but the killer retaliates with lethal force, dragging Vicente with him as they both